Jeff Houston. Um, what's going on, Jeff?
Shit, I'm gonna tell you something, John. It's all lovely over here in beautiful Wonju, actually. Getting geared up for Road FC 42, which is going to take place tomorrow at the Cheongju World Martial Arts Festival. Tonight, we're coming to you live from a fun location, actually. We're coming to you from the Wonju Dynamic Dance Festival. This is an annual festival, and it's freaking crazy over here. I'm having a great night.
What kind of dancing is going? What kind of dynamic dancing is popping off?
Well, it's like kind of a blend of traditional Korean dancing as well as choreographed dancing. You know, a lot of stuff that you would actually see if you were in the States and you were watching, I can't even remember the name of it off the top of my head. America's Got Talent. America's Got Talent. Yeah, like the Jabberwocky dance team. Okay. A lot of that going on tonight.
For sure. You know, you started with Road FC. How long has it been?
Well, I've been with Road FC. I'll be celebrating my 2-year anniversary in October, next month.
Wow, time flies.
It sure does.
Yeah,
it sure does.
It seems like you just started doing it for Road.
You know, it would seem that way, but as busy as they've kept me going, I feel like I've been working with them for years.
Was that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, no, it's never a bad thing. It's never a bad thing. I mean, I'm going to tell you, I am an extremely positive person, so it takes a lot for something to be an actual bad thing. No, it's a marvelous thing. It's a fantastic thing.
All right, that's good. That's good because now, you know, you've been a ring announcer in the States for a while, and then how did you get hooked up with Road FC though? Because it's like
it's
the world.
Well, it's the damnedest thing. You know, this April I'll actually have been a professional ring announcer for 15 years. And I'll be celebrating my 15-year anniversary in April of next year. But the Road FC story is quite an interesting story. You know, I was just sitting on my couch at home, minding my own business, and one day I get a call, and it's a Korean number on my caller ID, and I'm thinking, what kind of scam is this? I have no idea, actually. So I pick up the phone.
What is calling you, huh?
Yes, exactly. I'm wondering what exactly is going on here, and then I get the call, and it's one of the Road FC executives that unfortunately is no longer with the company, and they said, we've got an event coming up. This was, I think it was either Tuesday or Wednesday that they called me, and they said, can we get you down here on Friday to do our show? And I'm like, Friday? I'm like, wow, that's getting kind of close, but I thought, what the hell, actually? This sounds like fun. So they got all my travel arrangements. A few days later, I was in Seoul for the very first time and rocking it out at Road FC 26 at the Jongchung Arena. It was awesome.
Road FC 26?
Yes.
Wow. And when you first stepped in to Korea, was that the first time coming to Korea?
It was my first time to Korea, not my first time to the Orient or to Asia, but it was definitely my first time to Korea. So I didn't know what to expect. I only had so much time to actually prepare for the event. So I was going into this very, very naive and not knowing what to expect. But I'm going to tell you, the Korean fight fans, the Road FC staff, everything was absolutely lovely from moment one to moment done. It really was a pleasure.
Well, that's awesome. Now, with being a ring announcer, you said you've been in the game for like 15 years, almost 15 years now. And when did you figure out, like, hey, I have a nice voice?
Well, I mean, it was annoying at the beginning. It's probably still annoying to this day, actually, at least a little bit. But what happened was, I'd always loved the position. It was always something that I gravitated towards. And it took me until I was about 25 to actually put the pieces into place and say that this is what I wanted to do. So I actually started off at independent pro wrestling in the States, actually, like that, and started paying my dues and, getting more and more shows. And then I gravitated more towards MMA and boxing, and the rest is history.
Like you said that you started with pro wrestling. Let's get into that because I know you are deep into that. You've been to the WrestleManias and a lot of I guess when we were younger, how old are you right now?
Well, I'll be celebrating my 40th birthday early December. So I remember my first event that I ever watched was actually Starrcade 1983, so that goes back quite a way.
Wow. Well, like I'm a little bit younger than you, but it's probably like the same timeline of, the wrestlers that we watched when we were young kids. And nowadays a lot of them are dying. Like, how does that feel to you for being a wrestling fan? Even like me, I stopped watching wrestling, but it seems like you have continued to enjoy wrestling, to this day. How does that feel to see these guys, the heroes, basically?
I hate to say it this way, but it is understandable because I know how much the business actually weighs upon you, both mentally as well as physically. And I mean, I'd like to say that a lot of the superstars and wrestlers that were actually from our time are actually living a very good, and comfortable lifestyle in their older age. But this just isn't so, actually, because mentally, what they put themselves through, what they put through for physically for their bodies and such, I mean, that's kind of like a sacrifice for the love of the game. And most of them knew that their quality of life in their older age wouldn't actually be too good because of these sacrifices. But these are things that they've done for their family, for their friends, and most importantly, for the love of the business. So it's sad, but it's understandable.
Who is a wrestler that is no longer with us now, that kind of like when they passed away, you're like, man, that guy was one of the best. He was like one of my favorite guys to watch.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. As an announcer, of course, you kind of gravitate towards the commentators. And as you know, just a few days ago, we actually lost Bobby the Brain Heenan, actually. Mm. And that, to me, I'm still not over that, actually. I'm still grieving it right now because I truly believe that he was the Johnny Carson of professional wrestling. And there will absolutely never be another one like him. And when I heard the news just a few days ago, it really hit hard. I mean, it really hit hard because he was basically a direct link to my childhood, actually. When I hear his voice, when I hear his likeness, when I hear people talk about him, it's almost like an instant flashback to the better times of my life, actually, when Bobby Heenan was entertaining us. But in answer to your question, as far as professional wrestlers, when Randy Savage passed, actually, that was a real big hit for me because I always thought he was the Michael Jordan of professional wrestling. He was the one who made it seem effortless, like he put absolutely no effort in it because he didn't have to, because he was that good.
Could you give me some of that Macho Man Randy Savage a little? I think I've seen you do it, but could you give me some of that?
Well, I'm not going to go ahead and do the facial expressions, but the one thing I will do is I will tell you that it is all about the cream of the crop. Yeah, it's all about being the top. Space is the place to be, and there's only one Macho Man Randy Savage. If there were two, this world wouldn't be big enough. Yeah, because I'm the number one, and I'm the World Wrestling Federation champion from moment one to moment done. Ooh, yeah!
Man, that's good.
I'm pretty tired right now, but
well, we got to keep you healthy because you still got to work tomorrow, right?
I have got work, Road FC 42, man. It's going to be an awesome card, actually, because it's taking place with the Cheongju World Martial Arts Festival. And I always love doing shows at martial arts festivals because it really shows the beauty and the complexity of so many different kinds of martial arts throughout the world. And that's the best part about it is that it's really going to be a showcase for almost every conceivable martial art that's being practiced today. And to intermingle that with MMA, especially the way that Road FC does it, it's just going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool to go down there and actually, see in person what a martial arts festival looks like, because I've never been to one in my lifetime, so it'll be a first time for me.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good, actually. Road FC is really pumped to actually be a part of this, actually. And one thing that I like about Road FC is the dynamics of the expansion that we're doing internationally, because, Road FC has been a Korean company forever, actually. It was actually Road FC 26 that they really started when they brought me in, and then they started bringing in other people like Herb Dean. Herb Dean has been, so instrumental to Road FC as well. And bringing that international flavor is really what's going to put Road FC in direct competition with the best. You know, I truly believe that Road FC is going to be one of the best, actually. I mean, you know, we say we're Asia's #1 MMA league. You know, I stand by that.
All right. Well, you know, you got to pump up your company. You got to pump it up as much as you can.
Do?
You know, if you're not pumping up your company, if you're not pumping up your team, then who are you going to pump up? You know what I mean?
I'm not doing my job.
Yeah,
I'm not doing my job if I'm not pumping it up, if I am not taking the damn volume knob and breaking it off the damn stereo, I am not doing my job.
Exactly. Now, you've been cage side for 2 years watching Road FC fights. Now, what is one of the fights that you've watched cage side and you're like, that is a fight I'm never going to forget?
You know, that's such a tough question, actually. And the reason that it's a tough question is because the quality of the fights are so so hard to judge. But the one that actually sticks out in my mind that I think that I saw two people go in there and almost literally tear each other apart, actually, was actually during the Road FC Openweight Tournament semifinals. And that was with Hyun Man Myung and Mighty Mo. And they both came out of that injured, actually, and it was really, really a trial and tribulation on both of them physically. But it really was important, actually, for them to actually get, because, of course, it was a qualifying move-on round for the Openweight tournament. And as we all know, you know, Mighty Mo won the tournament and is now the Road FC Openweight champion.
Yeah, I think that's the only time Mighty Mo did not knock out his opponent.
Yeah, you know what? Mighty Mo is notorious for those big knockouts. I mean, he's got that Samoan background. He's got that K1 background. There's almost nothing that he actually can't accomplish in there. And not only that, I mean, you know, he's past 45 years old. I mean, you know, he's proving that age is just a number. I mean, you know, we all saw what happened with Carlos Toyota. I mean, I thought that was going to be a competitive fight, and he put Carlos Toyota to sleep faster than NyQuil.
Yeah, that was quick. Like he was sleeping. That was really, the Mighty Mo, he's one of those guys, man. Like he's scary to watch because you don't know when damage is going to come, but it's going to come.
Oh, it's inevitable that it's going to come. I mean, if you've seen the man's fists, I mean, you know, if he has any kind of a tattoo across his fist, it might as well be his zip code back home. That's how big they are, actually. It's absolutely phenomenal. But he's also a very humble guy. He is the epitome of a family guy. And, you know, he's an absolute wonderful representative for Road FC, especially on an international basis.
Yeah, he's a blue-collar guy, I guess you could call it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He is a guy, he's never forgotten his roots, and he is all about giving back. I mean, he gives back to Road FC, he gives back to his family, he gives back to his community. Once again, we could not ask for a better representative for our inaugural Road FC Openweight champion. And still, I mean, you know, he's had successful title defenses this far, actually, so we're very proud of him.
Now, like, what fighter in Road FC do you see as the most impressive, or maybe even the best fighter in the promotion? Who do you think that is?
Well, right now, the fighter to beat, actually, is definitely the one who is the figurehead of the Road FC $1 million tournament, which all of the remaining semifinalists are trying to get a crack at, and that's Aso Kwan, the Road FC lightweight champion. I kind of consider him to be the Conor McGregor of Road FC. You know, I mean, he's all personality, he's high in substance, but he's also incredible in performance as a professional mixed martial artist. And he, whoever takes this tournament is going to have their hands full when they step in the cage with him.
But don't you think him being away from fighting for so long is not going to be, you know, beneficial for him when he actually gets to fight whoever wins?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't think that that's going to be a factor at all. And the reason for that is because I know of the ferocity in which he's training. He's always at the gym. He's always cornering people he's always cornering other fighters in the process. So he's never too far away from the cage. So that's why I believe that even if he has himself a little break away from the cage competitively, I don't really think that you're going to see any cage rust when it comes down to it. When, like I said, I'll say it again, whoever wins this tournament is going to have their hands full.
And Another question is, who's a fighter that you're like, hey, I need to watch this guy fight. Like, this guy is the most exciting guy. You said Azarquan is probably the best guy, but who's the most exciting guy, like spectacular to you?
Well, I mean, that's a loaded question. That's a loaded question right there. And the reason that's a loaded question, once again, is because of the incredible level of competition there is. I mean, I think you've actually got me stumped on this one. It's not because I can't remember names, because I can, but it's just the fact that when you actually represent an organization that is as awesome as Road FC, it has fierce competition. I mean, these are fighters that come to fight. I mean, we show it each and every time. There's one that I definitely want to see progress as a fighter. He's still so young, and that's going to be our main event tomorrow, and that's Arigala, actually our Chinese heavyweight supernova.
Yeah, I think right now he's so young that you don't even know his potential yet. And
he's 22.
Yeah,
he's 22 so years old. I mean, he's not even close to his prime as of yet. But the one thing that I do like about him is that he doesn't fit the traditional heavyweight. I mean, you look at Arigala, it looks like he's never worked out a day in his life. But I tell you what, you get in striking range of those big mitts, you are going to sleep. That's just all there is to it and everything like that. And yes, he's had some setbacks in his Road FC career against Hung Man Che and, of course, Hyun Man Myung. But I think that those are only things that are going to strengthen him. I think, the old saying, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I think that right there is going to be a testament to his progression.
You were cage side for that shot.
Oh,
to the nuts. Take us back. Take us back to that.
You think I want to take you back? I don't even want to think about it. Oh my gosh! You're asking me to take you back to one of the most painful moments, the most cringeworthy moments in the history of Road FC. That wasn't the shot that was heard around the world. That was the shot that was heard around every male in this world. Actually, it was an accident. I mean, that's the thing about it is, I mean, people don't understand how easy that predicament is in mixed martial arts, actually. But when you're in there with somebody with the kickboxing pedigree of Hyun Man Myung, and that was just like a defensive kick, but it was a defensive kick that it made everybody in the world cringe, and it made worldwide, I mean, when it went viral, it made worldwide news, actually, with that shot, because you know how Arigala has a very childlike face. He might as well have had pain tattooed across his forehead when he was on camera, actually. I felt for him. Who wouldn't felt for him? I mean, it was unfortunate, but I think it's just going to make him stronger, and I think it's just going to be better.
Give us some insider information, like what actually happened to him.
Well, I mean, at first we thought that something may, unfortunately, in the nether region had ruptured, but he was very, very lucky, actually, that did not take place. He had some rehabilitation, kind of getting him back into the swing of things. But he's looking great now, actually. I mean, once again, I think if something like that is going to happen in your respective mixed martial arts career, be thankful that it happened as young as he is.
For sure. Well, it's going to be interesting to see. I think because of that accident, more eyes are going to be on him in this fight coming up. Because of that accident, it's kind of weird to say that a setback actually brings you more attention later on.
Oh, absolutely, because there was sympathy. There was sympathy as well as empathy, actually, for what took place. So therefore, yes, there are going to definitely be more eyes on him moving forward, because some people never recover from that physically as well as mentally. I mean, he was one step away from permanently singing soprano in the shower for life.
Yeah, and at such a young age, it's a terrible situation. Now, let's go to learning names. Like, you're in Asia, and you got fighters from Russia, you guys fighters from China, you guys fighters from all over the world coming to fight, and you have to learn their name. Like, how do you figure out how to say their names?
It's all about phonetics, man. It's all about breaking down the syllables. Once you learn how to break down the syllables and say certain names phonetically that actually make more sense to you rather than how they're actually spelled, makes it a lot easier actually moving forward. Actually, a lot of people think that I have a lot of trouble with that because of the fact that I'm a Yankee. I'm a Texan and everything like that, and I'm going to have trouble. I'm like, no, not at all. Actually, it's just a learning process. And with Korean names are actually very easy. Korean names are very easy because, of course, most Korean names have are hyphenated names, so they're very easy to actually break down.
But what about those Mongolian names?
The Mongolian names, yes, that's when the phonetics are really important, and you actually on my little fight card, sometimes I make sure that the name is like written out for me so that I can understand.
Yeah, it's got to be a hard job prepping those things because you got to go find somebody that knows how to say it properly, even though, because it's spelled all different from what it sounds like. So do you have to run around, or is there somebody that helps you out with that, or what's going on?
Oh, I have some help every now and then when I ask for it. But like I said, I mean, for the harder names, yes, I get a little help for that. But for everything else, it's just, you just do your research. The best thing about it is that you got the greatest tool in the world, which is the internet, and there's hardly anything that you can't find, especially when it comes to name pronunciation. I mean, you can probably even find name pronunciation on YouTube these days. It's never an issue.
Yeah. Now let's go to something that I saw live that everybody was like, what the fuck is he doing moment in the cage is when I think it was in the main event, and I forgot who you were announcing for. Which fighter was that?
Well, you've got to be a little bit more specific because I've got a few of those moments already with Road FC. Was I wearing a red suit or a blue jacket?
It was the first time you did the Nick Diaz. That's what I called it, the Nick Diaz. You did the Nick Diaz. Do you have a name for that? Do you have a name?
That was Mighty Mo, actually. That was Mighty Mo the first time that I did that, where I laid down on the canvas, actually, and I wanted Mighty Mo to have an introduction that he'd never forget, actually. And it's funny, Road FC, that kind of happened organically within the promotion. I didn't expect to actually start announcing that way, bring out more showmanship and such, but it happened because the fans, I started experimenting with little things, very slowly, and they loved it. They absolutely loved it. So this different side of me came out. But once again, the best part is that it came out organically. It wasn't forced. And then and I started thinking, now that I've started this, oh my goodness, I've got so much work ahead of me in giving over-the-top introductions for fighters and such. Plus, I'm also already 40 years old, so I've got to get in better shape, actually, so I can make sure that I can physically commit to these introductions.
Well, when are you going to do the James Brown? That's what I'm waiting for.
The James Brown, man, I'm going to tell you, that is one thing that I don't think I'm going to ever touch, because if I tried the James Brown, oh my goodness, man, I actually might be kicked out of the country.
Now with the ring announcers, is there like a competitive thing going on with other ring announcers? When you see other ring announcers like from other promotions or whatever, are you guys cordial, or do you guys know each other, or what's going on with that? The world of
I actually have many friends that are ring announcers and such. Actually, there are some that I'm cordial with because some of them have the wrong attitude about ring announcing in general. Some of them have the millennial attitude to where they feel that they're self-entitled to it rather than actually paying their dues and earning opportunities. And some that say that they're the best and they have absolutely no evidence to support that. But like some of my best friends, Joe Martinez, actually, who was the former announcer for the WEC, Golden Boy Promotions, and currently announces with the UFC, is one of my best friends actually in the business. Lupe Contreras from Top Rank Boxing is a very good friend of mine. Thomas Triber, longtime ring announcer, good friend of mine. And, of course, Mr. Young Moon Shin, my Korean counterpart in Road FC, is actually one of my best friends.
That's awesome. Now, when I think of your ring announcing, I kind of think of like you're a blend of Jimmy Lennon Jr. and Bruce Buffer. Like you kind of bring both of those styles together. But that's my view. That's my opinion. But what is your opinion? What is your style?
Well, first off, I mean, I'm at the point in my career to where emulation is, you know, I haven't emulated anyone in a very long time, actually, because at the beginning, emulation is almost inevitable because you have to develop your own style over the years and such. So my style actually came from kind of like a self-realization one day. You know, one day it hit me like a ton of bricks, actually. I said, Jeff, you just have to access the madness. A part of people that don't, you know, it's a part that a lot of people don't necessarily tap into throughout their lives. And that's what I did. I kind of accessed the madness, and I've actually reached a new plateau in my career that is something, once again, that was totally expected, but I love it. And I have had a few naysayers who say that I'm just a Bruce Buffer ripoff, and you know, once again, I really don't even really acknowledge my naysayers, but if I'm going to say anything, I'm going to say, you know what, Bruce Buffer has not cornered the hype market. He hasn't.
That's true. That's true. Bruce Buffer is just Bruce Buffer. He has his style, you know, and everybody has their own style. It's just, you know, the thing is, if you have haters, then you know you're doing something right. That's what I say.
Well, it's all about developing a style that actually works, and not only does the promotion love, but the fans love, and it's something that actually propels you to the next plateau in your career and such. And I think that that's happened with Road FC and such. You know, I mean, you know, the physical moves, the wild jackets and everything like that. As you can see, you know, I actually have blonde hair and everything. You know, didn't have that too long ago now, actually. So it's just accessing the madness is my mantra. If anybody else tries to, I guess you could say, copy my style, it's not going to work because they're not accessing the madness, at least not like I am.
Yeah. Now, where do you find this madness?
It's one of those things. I mean, you know, it's something that's deep within. Actually, it's almost hard to actually put into words because, you know, you really can't understand it unless you've been there, actually. I mean, it's a combination of so many different things. You know, it can be love, it can be joy, it can be anger, it can be, you know, annoyance. I mean, it can be so many different things that are actually wrapped up into a package and finally given to a live audience and such. I mean, I've always been a showman. You know, I am an excessive talker, as you can see, but I've always been a showman, and this is just the showman in me finally coming out and showing the world what I've got.
So you said you're always a showman. You always been a showman. Now, but like going back to the earlier question of like, how did you get started? Like your voice, you know, like you have to kind of change your voice a little bit when you do announcing. Like, how did you figure that out? Like, I always wondered about announcers and their voices. How did you figure that out? Like, this is the voice that I want.
Well, most announcers, you know, will definitely say that your voice is your voice. It's just, you know, the inflection is higher, the tone is higher and such, actually. There's very few ring announcers that can actually completely change and mold their voice. Michael Buffer is a great example because his voice is actually very nasally when he talks, but when he announces, he has this rich, bassy baritone voice that just comes out of nowhere. And you know, Jimmy Lennon is another example of just inflection in your voice, actually, because the way Jimmy talks is very similar to the way Jimmy announces, actually. But it's just that inflection. And I think you honestly have to have it naturally, because I remember the first day that I actually announced, actually, I remember the promoter told me, you've got the voice, Jeff, but you don't know what you're doing actually out there. And that's actually, and that's right, actually, because you can have the voice, but if you've never done it before, then obviously you're not going to put the pieces together until you start paying your dues and getting experience. I mean, there's no substitute for experience.
All right, if you had a choice between wrestling, boxing, and MMA to announce for, and it was only one, what would you choose?
Well, I mean, everybody always wants boxing because, you know, it's the prize fights. I mean, you know, obviously my wild side would have to be compressed just a little bit, actually, because, you know, boxing is much more, you know, there's more pageantry to it. It's not as over the top, actually. It's a little bit more conservative when it comes to announcing. I mean, of course, the UFC is the pinnacle for everyone when it comes to, you know, opportunities and such. But I think if I actually had to choose off the top of my head, I think an HBO pay-per-view actually with a major prize fight world championship would probably be that pinnacle.
What do you think has been your biggest fight that you have announced?
Well, I was very fortunate actually to have worked the undercard for the Canelo and Austin Trout fight in San Antonio, which we had about almost 50,000 people actually there, and that was quite an experience actually. Now, have I had the opportunity to do the prize world championships? No, unfortunately, I have not actually, and it takes a long time to get to that upper echelon. I mean, I'm 40 years old actually, but you also have to remember that Michael Buffer started when he was 38.
Wow.
So it took him a while. It took him a while to actually get to that upper echelon as well. So, you know, I'm a patient guy, and my time is coming. I'm not even concerned about it. I mean, I know for a fact that I am one of the best in the world. I know I am.
Oh, I believe you are one of the best in the world because, hey, nobody got the flair that you have. You know, nobody.
You got the flair part right, especially with the hair. Woo!
You got the flair. You got the voice. Like no one could ever listen to you announce and say, "Oh, that I don't know who that is," because you can tell exactly who you are.
I can appreciate that, but yes, I'm still in a point in my career where not everybody knows where I am, and that's okay actually, because you know, like I said, it's only a matter of time. So you know, the ones who don't know me, they will. So like I said, I'm a patient man. It doesn't bother me. I've got a long, lengthy career. I plan to be doing this. If my voice and my body holds up, I'll be doing this until I'm dead.
Now, you know, like you've announced for boxing and MMA and even wrestling, but like let's go to the boxing and the MMA thing. What did you think about the Canelo? Do you watch boxing?
Oh, of course. I'm a very avid fight fan. I'm a very avid fight fan. If we're going to talk about the Canelo and Triple G fight, actually, yes, then I mean, Triple G won that fight hands down. Unfortunately, that fight was a victim of bad judging. I mean, you know that as well as I do, actually. Adelaide Bird went under a lot of criticism for her scorecard. It was 118-110 to Canelo, and my thought process on that, as seasoned a judge as she is, I just didn't think that she was watching the same fight. So, and she's had some controversial calls before, actually. So the Nevada State Athletic Commission actually suspended her. They didn't fire her, but they suspended her. And hopefully she's going to take that time and kind of reassess her judging procedures, and hopefully she'll come back stronger.
I hope so, because, you know, like you're holding the fate of these fighters' careers in these scores. You know, like especially in boxing, losing is not the best thing to, you know, do. Like in MMA, you could lose and you could still continue your career and become big, but in boxing, losing one time is huge, right? Who is the best boxer, do you think, right now, currently competing?
Well, Triple G, in my opinion, is pound for pound right now, actually. But you know, there are several others. I mean, right now, we actually have the chance to have one of the best heavyweights in the history of professional boxing, and that's Anthony Joshua, actually. I think Anthony Joshua is just primed to be one of the best ever, actually. I mean, you know, he ended the career of Vladimir Klitschko, but of course he got Klitschko on the downslope and closer to the end of his career. I would have loved to have seen them hook up when Klitschko was in his prime. That just would have been it. Definitely would have had a different outcome. Maybe not necessarily a win, but a damn near close one.
Do you think boxing is going back to where everybody was fighting the best fighters and the best fighters were fighting each other? Do you believe that?
No, absolutely not. I think right now boxing is in a transitional period, because a lot of people are saying that boxing is dying. Boxing isn't dying. It's just that the best at the time are taking a step down. You know, we're losing Klitschko, we're losing Pacquiao, we're losing Mayweather. I mean, we're losing the better fighters of this generation. So it takes a considerable time, actually, before the next pound for pounds actually move their way up to, you know, to the next, to take their throne. So we're just in a transitional period. I don't think that it's bad. It's just going to take some time, and, you know, this is one thing that you have to have patience for.
Did you feel sick seeing McGregor fight Mayweather, or were you interested in that fight?
Oh, of course not. I wasn't sick. I thought it was the smartest thing in the world for McGregor. I thought McGregor was smart to take this because I knew that McGregor would actually come out a winner whether he won or lost or not. This is a man who, before he started his MMA career, was actually receiving state assistance in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, he always believed in himself, and that propelled him to actually make the largest amount that a professional boxer debut has ever made. $100 million once the guarantee, the pay-per-view, and the gate draw is all counted up. $100 million for a pro boxing debut. You tell me another pro boxer in the history of that business that made $100 million on their debut. Smart man.
Yeah, definitely smart move on his financial side. There's rumors now that McGregor is going to fight Canelo next year. How do you see that going down?
I think it's great. Because you know something? McGregor is actually getting an opportunity to show that he is he's a transitional athlete. He can transition from MMA to boxing. And am I going to say that his professional debut was terrible? No, it wasn't terrible at all. But you also have to understand that that was McGregor on his pro debut going up against the greatest defensive fighter in our generation. The talent gap between the two of them in the ring was just monumental. And I knew exactly what was going to happen. McGregor was going to get there, try to push, but Mayweather, being the calm, solid professional that he was, laid back, bought his time, let McGregor gas out, and then took him in the championship rounds. I knew it was going to happen. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I didn't actually call it. A lot of other people actually, which way you're going. And I didn't even want to say anything because I kind of had a preternatural sense of what the fight was going to be.
But what do you think about Canelo facing McGregor?
I'm going to tell you, I'm not the biggest fan of Canelo, actually, because, I mean, a lot of people like Canelo. I think that he's a talented fighter, but I think he's also manufactured, actually. I think that because he came out of nowhere all of a sudden, and I think that they're just trying to build him up to more than he actually is and such. And once again, I'm not saying that he is not a fantastic fighter, because he is, but I don't think he's a pound for pound. I don't think so at all. But if it happens, it makes dollars and cents. Both of them are going to come out winners and such, whether it's good for the sport. You know, when you talk about those kind of prize fights and everything like that, you're talking about dollars. So you got to have the dollars all come together, and that's exactly what's going to happen.
For sure. Oh, yeah, it's all about dollars nowadays. It's got to be 50% about the money and the 50% about what if it makes sense or not, right? But always the money makes sense, so you're going to go with that.
I don't even think it's 50-50. I think it's more 80-20, actually, because you have to remember the majority of these title fights take place in America, and America is a capitalist country, which means capitalize on everything, including prize fights. So money comes first, and, hopefully talent will follow.
For sure. We talked about boxing. Now, going back to Road FC, you're going to be announcing this weekend. Like, what is the one fight, if you could recommend somebody, they don't have much time, but one fight that they could watch on this card that would be the best fight to watch?
Oh, well, obviously the main event, because all eyes on Arigula on how he is going to rebound from that horrific injury, and he's got a solid guy in there, Yusuke Masuda, and that's going to be a solid fight for him, actually. But I remember at the weigh-ins actually today, Yusuke Masuda actually did kind of like a double take when he took a look at Arigula, because I don't think he had seen him before the weigh-ins, and he was like, whoa. This guy is big, actually. So I think that's one of the fights they're going to see. But another fight is definitely going to be Minuwa Man actually returns to Road FC. And, he has got himself a very, very tough fight, actually. And I think that is going to be another one that you're going to be looking out for. Unfortunately, I don't have his name off the top of my head, and I do apologize because I'm on your podcast. But that one features two fighters that are both veterans and definitely proves that just age is just a number. So it's going to be interesting. Those are the two I think that are going to be the ones to keep an eye out for.
All right, before I let you go, I just want to ask you one last thing. Of course, we got to talk about it because the world's watching the $1 million tournament. And at the during the $1 million tournament, there were so many upsets and so many crazy finishes, right?
Yep.
Now, I think there's 8 guys left. Who is going to win, in your opinion?
Well, that is such a loaded question because, you have to look at the parameters behind your question. This is $1 million that we're talking about. This is life-changing financial availability. So this could bring out the absolute best of fighters that actually haven't had it so good before, but now they have this opportunity with Road FC. It was originally scheduled for a 32-man tournament, but they had to scale it down to 16. And yes, now we're down to the final 8, which, of course, the next round is going to be taking place November 11th in Shujiachuang, China, actually, and that's going to be the next qualifying round. But with the momentum that I've seen, one of the guys who's actually who's probably going to go far, if not all the way, is going to be Tom Santos from Brazil. I have just seen such aggression from him, and he was a last-minute replacement into the tournament. He was not originally scheduled, actually, to be one of the original 16, because we had an injury, replacement, one of our Russian fighters. So he actually came in, and he's been more than dominant. We were like, where did this guy come from? So I honestly believe Tom Santos is going to be one of those fighters that you definitely have to watch out for.
Who's another guy, like one more guy that you think, other than Tom Santos, that has a good chance?
I think our Mongolians are actually kicking ass on top of that. I think Kukan Ku Amartufshin is one of them. And, of course, Nandin Erdin. Those are 2 Mongolian fighters that just have absolutely phenomenal striking backgrounds, actually. And both of them showed dominant performances within there. Kukan Ku Amartufshin, he got an upset victory, in my opinion, over Shinji Sasaki.
Huge.
I was very surprised.
Yeah.
I was very surprised about that. I thought Shinji was going to take that fight, but he laid out Shinji with a beautiful, and not only that, after the fight stopped it, Kukanku got into perfect position for a dominant and everything like that. I'm like, that timing couldn't have been planned better.
Yeah, those Mongolians, they're impressive. They've shown the world that they can fight. It's just,
yes, they can.
It's pretty crazy. Well, what else do you have planned after Road? What other gigs do you have?
Well, I've got a couple of gigs with CBS Sports Network. I've got a couple of events, hopefully, that are going to take place in Europe as well. But right now, I'm really concentrating on Road, actually. I've got some things coming up for Showtime as well, actually. So there are some things happening stateside, but I always have a smile on my face when I come to Road because I know the enormity of these events, actually. And I know how Korea just embraces Road FC as the country's #1 MMA league. In my opinion, like I said, I still believe we're Asia's #1 MMA league. So it's a busy year for the next 3 months.
All right, Jeff, thank you. If you want to see Jeff, you're going to see him on TV in Korea, NBC, YouTube. But most people probably going to be watching on YouTube. So you'll see him, do his thing. And I'm thinking that you're going to bring something new. I hope so, eventually. Something different.
Like I said, tune in. If you're definitely wanting to see the epitome of physical announcing, you better get ready because I've got a whole lot of stuff. I'm getting in better shape. I'm doing more yoga classes so I can be more limber, actually, for Road FC. So get ready.
All right. Thank you, Jeff, for coming on the podcast. It was good talking to you. I'll see you around. Thank you again.
All right, John, thank you for having me on. And everybody, tune in to John on Kumite Radio, man. This cat knows what he's talking about. He knows the fight game. He asks the right questions. This is the podcast to be on.
All right, thank you for that. Bye.
Yes, sir.